The countdown continues to the election at the end of this month. August 30th, we'll see the results of efforts by Mayor Lenny Curry trying to solve the pension crisis.
We've spent months putting together coalitions of Republicans, Democrats, progressives, conservatives, constituents and interest groups that are often at odds.
It goes through the $1.5 billion added expense generations into the future will be responsible for due to this tax. This is something that should never have become a referendum.
Still at odds, many in Jacksonville trying to determine if they trust the plan offered by City Hall. We'll examine some of those concerns, plus a week of candidates debating the issues and taking aim at each other. Analysis of the debates among 10 different people asking for your vote in the primary election in 9 days. All that on This Week in Jacksonville. Thanks for joining us this morning. County Referendum 1 is the big issue on the ballot August 30th. We've heard the mayor speak about his plan, asking for bipartisan support, saying it's a make or break issue for Jacksonville. And while Democrats have joined the Republican mayor's effort, not everyone is on board. Joining us right now, Dr. John Allen Newman, the senior pastor of the sanctuary at Mount Calvary. So it falls on you this morning to kind of explain both sides of the argument here. We had scheduled another pastor to join us, but they had an emergency come up. So tell me, what is maybe the pro and con? Because it seems like when we talk about some of the folks in a certain part of Jacksonville, there's been pushback. We're not going to support it, not because they don't think it's a great idea, but some mistrust maybe.
I think that mistrust is probably a legitimate, not probably, it's a legitimate mistrust, because down through the years when the city has asked the African-American community to support its initiatives, whether that's consolidation or the Better Jacksonville plan, the black community has in large done that, but commensurately have not always gotten their interest back politically on what they've invested in. And so naturally that breeds a level of skepticism and doubt. And there are trust issues, no question about that. To not acknowledge that would be disingenuous. But I think there's also conflation, because this is not the Better Jacksonville plan, which was about capital expenditures. This is about the ability to do things in this city that allows, for instance, to cut the grass more than 8 times a year. There are so many things that cannot be done because $260 million this year is going into taking care of pension relief. And so it's
instead of going to some of those other things that you mentioned, taking care of the city, better streets, more police officers, as they talked about, that kind of thing.
And Kemp, you can always raise issues about why we shouldn't do something. Sometimes folks are kind of defined by, or they see themselves as what they're against and not necessarily what they're for. But I don't want to discount those who have legitimate issues. But when are we going to resolve this? Other mayors have not been able to do this. And Mayor Curry is saying, look, we've got to get this done. Next year is going to be $300 million. Where are we getting the money from? Yeah. And so it's an issue that has to be resolved. And so I support it with some other pastors who support it. And the mayor has committed to allowing a kind of ongoing dialogue so that after this thing is passed, we're going to be sitting down with him again and saying, now, when the windfall comes and the money is available, this is how it needs to be spent.
Right. Some accountability there.
Absolutely. And he's open to that.
So I want you to hear from Mayor Curry. He spent the past few months speaking to civic groups, nonprofit coalitions, community organizations, just about anyone who will listen, trying to explain his plan. And he seems to understand the concerns about the past promises going unfulfilled in Jacksonville.
Government officials often say, give me this revenue so I can solve this problem. And then they find out years later the problem wasn't solved. We wrote this legislation in a way that says this tax dollar, this half penny, can only be used to solve this problem. I can't change that, another mayor can't change that, and council can't change that.
So Dr. Newman, he's saying council can't change it, another mayor can't change it, it can't be changed. It's going to go just to this purpose. But still a large part of the community says, I don't trust it. Is that accurate?
And yes, it is accurate. And I think that trust is unfortunately well earned. But I spent...
Not with this mayor.
Not with this mayor.
But
no,
over
in the
time
past.
In Jacksonville.
And he's paying a price now for what has happened in the past. So, but that's natural. And people are angry about the promises that have been broken. He has a commitment. He's made a commitment that the underserved communities will get their fair share. Of course, that's got to be fleshed out. But that's his commitment. And so those of us who are at the table with him, we believe that he's willing to look at the things that really are needed historically in the black community that have not been dealt with. And so,
what are those things?
Well, we certainly need, the grass needs to be cut.
Sure. More than 8 times a year.
The trash needs to be picked up. You know, whatever is going on in every other part of the community needs to look the same way on the north side. And so, the community is saying enough is enough. You know, we really want these things done, and we hear that. So we're not just happy to be in the room with him. Who has time for that? We're there to make sure that there's accountability, and the mayor is so open to that, and people need to realize that. And I think, my closing statement, is that people have to stop, demagoguing the issue and stop name calling, because people start putting dispersions on your motives. You know, some of that's just projection. It's like, what would we be like if we were there? Well, we're not there because we're trying to get any kind of deal done. We're there because we want to see this entire community prosper, and no community left behind. The black community's been left behind way too many times. And the mayor hears that, feels that, and says on his watch that will not happen. And I believe him.
You believe him?
Yeah, I do.
Others are going to have to come along, or they're going to stand on their principle and say, we don't trust it yet. And we'll see how that turns out coming up here on August 30th. Dr. Moon, I appreciate you and hearing both sides.
Thanks for having me again.
Well, we continue giving candidates a chance to speak to you, the voter. Incumbent state attorney in Duval, Nassau, and Clay counties. She joins us next on This Week in Jacksonville. Stay with us.
Now that's a pleasant surprise. Just like finding out that with direct auto and life insurance, you can get a low rate regardless of your driving history.
There's a new name for luxury on the First Coast.
I'm Dan Fields of the Fields Auto Group. Whatever you're driving, see Fields first and step up to luxury at Lexus of Jacksonville and Lexus of Orange Park, both new members of the Fields family.
And now, during the Golden Opportunity event, you can lease a new 2016 Lexus ES350 for only $329 per month for 36 months, or get 0.9% APR for 72 months.
See Fields first for Lexus and step up to luxury during this amazing opportunity. This is one you don't want to miss.
Angela Curry claims she's tough. The record says something different. Curry dropped carjacking charges against this man who went back on the street. With the freedom provided by Angela Curry's failure, he committed another robbery and murder. While Curry lets killers go free, she's also left hundreds of rape evidence kits untested. Tests that could help put away rapists who target our sisters and daughters. Angela Curry isn't tough. She's just another politician we can't trust.
Every morning, you need the weather. And you told us you love meteorologist Richard Nunn.
This self-proclaimed all-American nerd.
Wait, that's me? Sure, he can be pretty crazy. But when severe weather's on the way, he pinpoints it, hour by hour.
Richard's not afraid to challenge national forecast models, so you get a truly local forecast.
The Morning Show on Channel 4 makes mornings happen.
Is Richard really that crazy?
Frank, Tina tells me your new Buick has built-in Wi-Fi.
Your Buick has Wi-Fi?
Seriously? Seriously? So I can update my blog from your car?
You have a blog?
Can I have the password? Can I get my hedge clippers back? It's a strange password. You know, you should put numbers in there.
Available built-in Wi-Fi. That's expectation shattering. That's the new Buick.
Now current lessees, switch to Buick and get this low-mileage lease on this 2016 Enclave for around $339 per month with $939 due at signing.
In Hillary Clinton's America, the system stays rigged against Americans. Syrian refugees flood in. Illegal immigrants convicted of committing crimes get to stay, collecting Social Security benefits, skipping the line. Our border open, it's more of the same, but worse. Donald Trump's America is secure. Terrorists and dangerous criminals kept out. The border secure. Our families safe. Change that makes America safe again. Donald Trump for president.
I'm Donald Trump, and I approve this message.
No. Now that's a pleasant surprise. Just like finding out that with direct auto and life insurance, you can get a low rate regardless of your driving history.
You're watching This Week in Jacksonville with Kent Justice.
Thanks for staying with us. Our commitment is to balance, and last week we interviewed the two challengers in the race for state attorney, 4th Judicial Circuit. Tuesday night, Melissa Nelson and Wesley White joined Angela Curry on stage at Jacksonville University for a debate. The 1 hour back and forth touched on allegations each campaign has made against the others, the experience each has in managing large organizations, or if they have that kind of experience, touching a nerve, the issue of the closed Republican primary where Nelson and White called it dirty politics to have a write-in candidate.
The question is not whether it's legal. The question is, was it's right? I don't know why Ms. Curry, who is running on her record, did not want to bring her record to all of the families of the Fourth Circuit. But the bigger problem than just closing the primary is that your chief law enforcement officer has yet to this day to be accountable for the actions of her campaign.
I can tell you this. I believe the state attorney's race should be a nonpartisan race. And I commit to you that, God willing, should I be elected, I will change my party affiliation to NPA, no party affiliation, so that everyone will always be allowed to vote. I don't trust Tallahassee. I don't trust entrenched politicians to change the law.
The Supreme Court declared it legal, and I think it's disrespectful to call it a dirty political trick, but it certainly suits this person's agenda because she wanted liberals to vote in a primary. The Supreme Court said we have parties for a reason, and that primaries exist for a reason.
Make no mistake, I have not complained once about running a race in a Republican primary. What I think is an issue to all of the voters that all should be concerned about is the excuses you just heard here and still no ownership. That's the problem.
As has been stated over and over again, I did not. My campaign manager did drive paperwork over to Tallahassee for the write-in candidate. I have said that before, and I've never wavered from that.
All right, again, we interviewed White and Nelson here on the show last week. We invited Angela Curry. She's able to join us right now. I wanted to ask about your takeaway from the debate there, that hour long where we're going back and forth on some of the issues.
Well, I'll tell you, one of the most important things was Melissa Nelson saying that it was her privilege and honor to represent a young man who brutally murdered a 2-year-old and sexually abused another child. And had I left him in the juvenile system, he'd be out right now.
That's a
but I'll
reference
tell you,
to Christian Fernandez?
Christian Fernandez, but this is who it's my privilege and honor to represent. This is David Gallarriaga, the 2-year-old baby that 139-pound 12-year-old beat to death. And nobody has spoken up for him at all except for our office and the sheriff's office. So that's why we do our job. We work with law enforcement to protect vulnerable babies like David.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to ask you about, you've got a reputation for being pretty passionate about clients. Mm-hmm. Is that ever, I guess, a struggle, or does it ever interfere with trying to represent that, or is it always a positive?
It's always a positive, as long as it's not done in front of a jury, as long as we are advocating for our victims and seeking justice, all within the bounds of due process, then it should never be an issue.
Yeah, you feel pretty emotional when you talk about David?
I do, because no one ever saw a picture of him. There was no crying mother for David. There were just people out there focused solely on Christian Fernandez, who, although he had a tough upbringing, I still have to protect this community. And as I stated, had he been in the juvenile system, he'd be out right now and in classes with the children of this community. It's my responsibility to make sure that we balance protection of the community with any rehabilitation that's required.
And just remind me the disposition on that. Did he plead guilty on manslaughter? Does that sound right?
He pled to manslaughter, got what we had always said was what I called a hybrid sentence. What he got was not virtually identical, but it was almost identical. It was part juvenile, part adult, but mainly what we wanted was incarceration to contain him, treatment, and then monitoring, which we do in the form of community control or probation.
So let me ask, what's left to do in these next, I guess, week plus before the election on the 30th?
We want people to go to our website and also to a website about Miss Nelson, thetruemelissanelson.com, because what's been overlooked by everyone, including Miss Nelson, who talks about her transparency and her character, is a permanent public record of her abuse of a grand jury in Flagler County. And those were findings of a judge, of a circuit judge who heard testimony about her behavior and Harry Shorstein's behavior. It's been overlooked by the media. I am hoping that someone will do their own research on it, because how can there ever be, it happened back in 2006, and the order of Judge Hammond got unsealed in 2009, but how can she ever be the state attorney? There will be a question about every grand jury impaneled because of her misbehavior as found by a circuit judge after he took testimony.
And that was Flagler County.
It was a Flagler County investigation. She and Shorstein were assigned by the governor. Shorstein's assigned by the governor. He appointed her. The judge took testimony from lawyers who were involved. So when she continues to talk about how well respected she is, I wonder if anybody's talked with the 7th Circuit lawyers who dealt with her on the Flagler County case.
So you're the incumbent here. You've served for, this is your 8th year.
It is.
You've got a record you can point to while the other candidates say, if I were elected, I would do this. Is that the key to trying to convince people to re-elect you here on August 30th?
It is. People could be maybe not in sync with me on certain cases, but what they have to understand is with the policies I implemented, we took Harry Shorstein's state attorney's office from 19th out of 20 into the top 5 based on convictions of really violent criminals and repeat offenders, but we're still doing smart justice programs too. And no, we didn't name those after you. We're doing smart justice programs that Ed Austin implemented. Diversion, he implemented those. It's diversion for young people and even adults on felonies and misdemeanors that are nonviolent to keep them out of the court system. So, and we're also partnering with a lot of entities who are there to help different people.
You have about 30 seconds left, but it seems like one of the things that happened in the last few years is some of these specialty courts, a drug court or veterans court. Or that.
Yes.
You're a proponent of continuing that? Are there other kind of courts you'd like to see?
We're absolutely a proponent of that. We also have a girls' court, we have mental health court, and I have lawyers assigned to handle each of those special courts so we can make sure we're in tune with the judge and everything going on in those.
All right. Angela Corey, I appreciate it. Good to see you, and appreciate the time today heading up to August 30th.
Good. Thank you so much.
All right. And we want to give you a note here. The state attorney's debate that we just showed some samples of, it airs on Channel 4 1 week from tonight at 5 p.m. All right, stay with us. We look at the other debates next on This Week in Jacksonville.
Come in now and get the 2016 you've been waiting for at Toyota's annual clearance event. It all ends September 6th, so hurry in before they're gone. Get a 2-year, no-cost maintenance lease on a new 2016 Toyota Corolla LE for $159 a month. Toyota, let's go places.
Storm season is here. News 4 Jax alerts warn you before danger strikes.
Channel 4's alerts. It popped up on my phone.
Your pictures help us tell the story.
Great storm pin pictures.
Before the next storm hits, trust the Weather Authority, Channel 4.
Washington failed to protect our borders and failed to get serious about the threat of radical Islamic terrorism. I took a stand.
Fact. In 2008, Sheriff Rutherford trained his officers to enforce federal immigration laws, leading to thousands of dangerous criminals being deported. Fact. Sheriff Rutherford worked with the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force to investigate and convict a jihadist recruiter in Jacksonville.
Your safety is my top priority, and I will fight for you in Congress. I'm John Rutherford, and I approve this message.
Clinique knows life's a balancing act. That's why there's Clinique's new Super Balanced Silk Makeup SPF 15. Skin feels naked, yet covered to perfection. Oil control meets perfect hydration. Plus SPF 15. Balance in a bottle. Clinique's new Super Balanced Silk Makeup. If only everything in life were super balanced. Your free 7-piece gift with any Clinique purchase of $27 or more, while supplies last. Available at participating Belk stores.
Who really has the fastest internet? We're off to the download races in today's Xfinity X1 Challenge.
We're gonna download the same show on these 2 laptops.
Okay, ready? Download.
So far, I'm doing pretty good. Should we put money on this?
Let's see who our winner is. Xfinity! Who do you have for your internet service?
I have AT&T. Yeah.
With Xfinity, you get speeds up to 12 times faster than you get with UVerse.
So what do you think now? Which one do you want?
I'd probably go for Xfinity.
Get started with Xfinity Internet risk-free for $19.99 a month for 12 months. Call or visit xfinity.com/challenge.
I'm Marco Rubio, and I approved this message.
My daughter was diagnosed with cancer of the breast, and it got worse and worse and worse. I called Senator Rubio. I said, this drug has not been approved by the FDA, but if you can get it, perhaps we can save my daughter's life. He got me the medication within a week. Thanks to Marco, I had 3 more months of my daughter. Marco Rubio was there for me when I needed him the most.
Here come the last of the 2016s.
Stylish Prius, sporty Camry, adventurous RAV4, they're all here. But not for long.
Get 0% APR for 72 months on a new 2016 Toyota Camry. Toyota, let's go places.
Weather updates are now faster and easier than ever with News4Jax.com. The latest Weather Authority forecasts right here. Or use the live radar to zoom into your street. Weather, faster and easier. News4Jax.com. Download or update the app today.
And joining us in our final segment, Jacksonville University Public Policy Institute Director Rick Mullaney, our partner in this unprecedented week of debates. So, Rick, overall, pretty big success because we wanted voters to hear directly from the candidates, right?
Kent, not only is it a big success, in the history of Jacksonville, I don't know if we've ever seen anything like it, really, in terms of 3 consecutive nights. But as I've mentioned, I'd like to put these contests in perspective. As we mentioned in the debate, for example, in Congressional District 4, since 1949, in 67 years, we've had 2 open seats in which there's been a contest. Only 3 people have ever held that seat. And so now we have that contest today, right now. In the state attorney's race, you've rarely had an incumbent challenged. In 50 years, there's really been only 3 people that have served. And when you look at Congressional District 5 with Corinne Brown, she's been there for 24 years, you have a very serious challenge. To have a contested race in all 3 of these in the same year is extraordinary, and to have the only televised debates on 3 consecutive nights, I think is a great public service. I think it's great for this community.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit. We just showed portions of the state attorney's debate, which took place on that Tuesday, in which you'll get to see coming up on August 28th at 5 p.m. on Channel 4. Incumbent Angela Curry just spoke a little bit about that as well. What did you glean from that? What stood out from that debate that night?
I actually think all 3 did very, very well. Angela Curry played to her strength, which is her record and improving the conviction rate and jury trial rate. She made a big deal of that in the debate, talking about moving from next to last to up to the top 3 and putting violent felons away. She went to that record. But Melissa Nelson had a very good night. Very articulate, very sharp, very smart. And also I think she went to her strength, which is trying to talk about trust issues, and she's trying to play against some of the high-profile cases that Angela Curry has handled and criticize those in a way that plays to her strength. Wes White had the advantage of being sort of the outsider. He played the outsider. He was able to sort of lob a few things at the other 2. And so each of them very articulate. You could tell they're all trial lawyers. I think they all did very well.
All right, let's talk about 3 candidates running for Congress in District 5, which stretches from Jacksonville to Tallahassee, and we touched on topics ranging from Black Lives Matter to the federal corruption indictment against incumbent Corinne Brown. Her legal trouble was one of the biggest moments of the night when the Congresswoman defended herself against the allegations, and her opponents weighed in with their views on the case.
I know that you're very familiar with the Constitution of the United States. And the 5th Amendment says that the prosecutors have to prove their case. Now, what if I said, as we standing up here talking, that I thought you was a pedophile? You would think it would be something wrong with me. So you would put together a team of lawyers, you would go to court, and you would duke it out in court. And that's what I've been trying to do.
If a grand jury brings back an indictment, there's typically some findings. Notwithstanding any of that, I do know that the federal prosecutors have a 98.2% conviction rate. They have a 98.2% conviction rate. So I hope for the sake of the incumbent and the sake of the children who should have received those funds that the allegations are not true.
My opponent has violated public trust. There's no way that you can be affected in the legislature at the same time that you have a cloud hanging over your head. People just would not support your issue. I think my opponent should not be in this race. She needs to be concerned about those charges and not be in this race violating public trust.
That debate came the same day that we learned Congresswoman Brown will be back in federal court coming up this week. Her new attorneys filed motions on that day to be removed from the case. They cited irreconcilable differences with Brown. A judge now wants to find out whether Brown can afford counsel. After that debate Thursday night, we asked her about her financial situation and more about her indictment. She was worked up and eventually cursed about the situation, calling it a witch hunt.
Are you having a cash issue?
Yes. Yes, I am. It's very challenging to balance both, you know, running a campaign and your legal bills. Because somebody make an accusation against you doesn't mean that you're guilty. And if so, then what's going on with our system of government? What happens when you are charged? Do you get a chance to defend yourself? Or is it some bull Peyton place people with a witch hunt?
Congresswoman Brown's next court date coming up Tuesday afternoon. What are your thoughts in general? That all happened there right after the debate with the media, but during the debate, still contested there as well.
Very much so, Kent. I actually think during the debate, you saw 3 different styles. Congresswoman Brown knows how to play to her base, and through most of the debate, she did. L.J. Holloway, the only lawyer in the group, very articulate. Al Lawson, a bit of the statesman. very, very approachable. Having said that, I think the defining moment of the debate was what you just witnessed. And after the debate, this discussion on the grand jury and the pending charges, Corinne Brown did what you expected she would do, which is to say, I'm innocent until proven guilty. But you did not see the others in the debate back off one bit. L.J. Holloway talking about, she not only said 98% conviction rate, she said grand juries, when they indict at the federal level, they do it for a reason.
Pretty strong.
And Al Lawson was pretty strong on it, also saying there's a cloud hanging over her and she shouldn't be in the race. So it was a pretty big moment in that debate.
Want to make sure we get to the four men who want to represent much of Jacksonville, plus Nassau County and parts of St. John's in Congress. They faced off Wednesday. They're running in House District 4. And former Sheriff John Rutherford is the front runner so far. He defended his policies on immigration and heard criticism from the other candidates.
In fact, we have a huge issue with folks coming across our southern border as well, which is why I started a 287G program in our jail, which gave us the ability at the local level to begin processing for deportation those criminal illegal aliens who wound up in our jail.
It creates a sanctuary city. The sheriff's office is the law enforcement arm of the city. It is a consolidated city of Jacksonville, and the consequence is you get a free pass on the illegal entry. And yes, if you commit a crime, like all of us here, we perhaps go to jail and perhaps subject their case to deportation, but not if they're simply here illegally.
We can't control what he says. Even the president, even though I may not agree with it, as a congressman, I have to protect his right, and that's protected under his First Amendment.
In terms of Donald Trump, I think he can say things a little bit better sometimes. However, I believe his sentiment is understood by the public, and I continue to support him. In terms of the program that Sheriff Rutherford wants to talk about, there's something that's a real issue there, however. The 287G program is a failed program by the federal government.
Rick, your thought on those four hashing it out on Wednesday?
Really, from a policy standpoint, there weren't big differences among the four. What stood out to me was sort of what I'd call the Trump effect, how all four of them have headed to Donald Trump's. All four said they were going to endorse Donald Trump and do endorse him. And on issues such as trade, TPP, all of them are now opposed to it. That's contrary to the traditional Republican position. All of them were with him on deporting 11 million illegal immigrants despite cost, time, and practicality, and on tax cuts. On your question of what about how do you make up the revenue losing $10 trillion, each of them, this district, predominantly Republican, one of the things in that debate was how all four went that direction. I actually think they performed well overall, but they moved to the right.
Rick, I appreciate it. All three debates, by the way, hosted by News4Jax and JU this week, can be seen on our website, news4jax.com. Look in the elections section under the politics tab. This Week in Jacksonville airing each Sunday morning at this time. 3 candidates in the 4th Congressional District that you didn't see on stage Wednesday night. They'll be here next week, plus Bill McClure in his first appearance on this show. Bruce Hamilton has that interview next Sunday.
At News4Jax, we're always covering the news, even when we're not on TV. Stay informed, on the go, and online at news4jax.com.